the Workforce Connections podcast, where we discuss workforce development in Southern Nevada. Here's your host.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of the WC podcast. Today, we have a very special guest, my new friend. We're going to welcome Dr. Stacy Klippenstein, new president of the College of Southern Nevada and new Workforce Connections board member. Stacy, great to see you again, and welcome to the podcast.
Great to see you too as well, Jaime, and thank you for the friendship already. Right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's been, we first met at a IAC meeting 2-3 months ago. You weren't even on the job yet, but you came early and told us that you were transitioning. We spent some time in D.C., and we're really looking forward to the work that we're going to continue to do to bring our organizations closer together, align the work that we do along with Joan Ebert at CCSD and our colleagues at UNLV and Nevada State University to make sure that that entire talent development pipeline is aligned to the needs of employers. And that's why I'm glad you're here, because you understand that workforce development is economic development.
That's right. Absolutely. Yes.
Well, before we get to business, we like to start the podcast by sharing, those who don't have the pleasure to know you, haven't met you in person yet, share a little bit about where you were born, where you grew up, maybe went to school, what did you do after graduating high school? Maybe tell us about your first job.
Yes. Well, first off, I was born in Southern California, in Upland, California, many years ago. And my father was a police officer. He was with Pomona Police Department for a number of years. And so early on in my life, I guess I grew up in Southern California, but then we moved to Montana, to Western Montana. So I basically was really raised in Western Montana. Dad got on the sheriff's department there, then was also chief of police, then got into construction and did all of that. But pretty much raised in Montana. Hamilton is where I graduated from high school. If anybody, and I always say this because some people go, well, where that's at, and I say, well, if you watch the TV show Yellowstone, people will go, oh, yeah, the ranch, right, the cabin, all that. Well, that's pretty much where I grew up, 17 miles from where they do the shooting for Yellowstone. And so the whole Bitterroot Mountains there, beautiful,
Fishing?
Loved it. I did fishing when I was younger, hunting with my brother, enjoyed all of that. Right. But for me, I was more involved in sports and athletics and stuff like that. So I wasn't out in the outdoors. I was on the field or in the court type thing, which I absolutely enjoyed as well.
What sports did you play?
Well, my main sport was baseball. I did a lot of baseball, but I did track and basketball and football as well. Wow. But really, it was baseball. It was my love and still is to this day. Wow. Did a lot of high school coaching as well when my boys were growing up and stuff. So I got more into coaching. After high school, I actually went to, then it was called Eastern Montana College. So it was, now it's Montana State University Billings. I knew I wanted to be a teacher when I was in the third grade.
Wow.
I remember telling my mom and dad, we were going down, we were in the truck and I was sitting between my mom and dad, and my mom says, so Stace, that's what they call me, Stace, what is it that you want to do? And I said, I want to be a teacher, because I had an awesome third grade teacher, Mrs. English.
Wow.
And I said, you know what? I just love the atmosphere. I love what she does. And so I went to college to be a teacher. So I have a history and a political science degree. I was going to be a history and government teacher, secondary education, and be a coach, do that whole route. But I really was an involved student leader, very involved. And some mentors kind of came into my life around that time. And my wife still had a year of school left. So this is way back when there was no online education. My first teaching job offer was Cibola High School out of Yuma, Arizona. It was a brand new high school. They were going into the third year. So they were hiring a whole new round of educators. And I could have accepted the job. I would have been also an assistant baseball coach. Perfect. Everything right up my alley. But there was no place for my wife to finish her degree. So we married a week after I graduated. She had one more year left. So we decided to stay back. Well, I had my mentor walk up and say, hey, Stacy, how about working for us for a year? I said, sure. We know you love working in the residence hall, student life type stuff. You've been very engaged. How about do something and be a hall director for us? I said, okay. So my wife and I lived in the residence hall, the dorms, with a bunch of students. And I fell in love with higher education at that given moment. And so I worked on my master's degree. I stayed there. I kept working and doing all that stuff, and got my master's degree in education there. and then started to move around and to get different jobs at different larger universities, smaller colleges, and so forth. And my career kind of advanced into working in community colleges, 2-year technical type colleges. And I fell in love with that space back almost 20 years ago. And so I haven't looked back. I've been in this 2-year space for about that length of time and have enjoyed every minute of it.
That's so cool. Before we jump to the rest of your career, I made some mental notes because number one, both my kids in college did the RA thing, the resident, assistant, and they loved it. And then also, when you talked about baseball, when we were in D.C., did you meet Bo Bernard from UNLV?
Did not.
Okay, so he was a collegiate baseball player. Maybe when we go to the Peruvian restaurant, we'll invite him too. He's going to connect with you in that way.
Yes.
He was a big-time athlete playing baseball at Harvard. So,
Yeah.
And then also you mentioned Upland, which is a small city in California near Pomona and Claremont. I remember because my daughter, when she was playing basketball in California, going to Cal Lutheran University, she would play games at Laverne, Pomona, Claremont, all those. And so I've been to Upland and looking for Peruvian restaurants there to take my daughter. So I know that area.
Right.
But thank you for sharing that. It really gives, I think, a picture. I can see you in Yellowstone, as a young kid fishing and hunting. So walk us through the rest of it, though. So it's really cool how when you know you're calling that early in life. But then take us from that point where you left off, fill in the gaps and bring us now, the steps that got you here to CSN in Southern Nevada.
Sure. Well, I mentioned kind of getting into the 2-year space about 20 years ago. So I went back to my alma mater, which Eastern Montana College or Montana State University Billings, and went back as a vice chancellor. So that mentor that hired me as the hall director, he retired as the vice chancellor and called me up and said, hey, because I've been moving my way up at different universities. At the time, I was at Central Washington University as an assistant vice president, overseeing a lot of auxiliary units, student conduct. I was the the main behavioral interventionist, so to speak, with students. But when I went back to Montana State University Billings as a vice chancellor, they have a 2-year technical school. It was called the City College, built within the university. And so I actually had a team there. I had to work there. I worked with the dean of that 2-year technical college. And I tell you what, when I started to see the output, the connection with industry, started to see how it was changing not just that 18-year-old's life, but also that 40-year-old single mother's life. And I said, wow, there's something here to this. I grew up in the university world, right? I grew up in the world of working with these 18, 19-year-olds living in the residence halls and what that meant, and did a lot of work around that for retention and student success. But I actually fell in love with that those students coming in who are adult learners, right? Who have a story, a background. And so that was about 20 years ago. And there was an opportunity about 8 years in where I got my doctorate degree and all of that type of stuff. But there was about 8 years in, I knew of Miles Community College, which is in Miles City, Montana, which is in eastern Montana, about 140 miles from Billings, Montana, where I was at. And I knew the president there, and I knew the school because I would go over there and work with my recruitment team and my team to talk about connections, collaborations, articulations with degree pathways. And she said that she was leaving to go on to a different institution. And I said, this might be an opportunity for me to actually get into this 2-year community college space as a president. So that was 12 years ago, well, almost 13 years ago when I did that. I tell you what, it was the best move I think I've ever made because I got to work really at the ground level and the roots of what we should be doing in higher education. And so becoming the president at Miles Community College was just a great step for me. Loved every minute of it. But then I had an opportunity 6 years later to go to Mojave College, or Mojave Community College then, but now it's Mojave College, right across the river here, right across the Colorado River, all of Mojave County in Arizona. And so I worked with the campus location we had in Lake Havasu and Bullhead City and Kingman, of course, where the district office was at, but also in Colorado City. So we had 4 campus locations spread out of the 5th largest county in the United States.
Wow.
And so I had a lot of traveling, but I was always back and forth into Vegas for various things. And also, that's when I learned a lot about CSN and started to kind of follow what CSN does for its community here, a larger urban environment, but also for the urban side, right? I knew they had a center in Mesquite. I knew at one point there was involvement down in Laughlin. And so I said, this is a great opportunity for me as well to work within a college that is well-known, well-established, works really well with our university partners, serves this greater urban area, one of the fastest growing areas in the country. To me, it was a no-brainer. Let's see if I can do that. And so I applied for it. But I've been in this space now for 12, going on 13 years as a community college president. But I had the 8 years prior as a vice chancellor overseeing the student success, student operations, enrollment side to a student engagement side at a technical college and working with faculty along the way. I'm never going back.
Well, we're excited to have you. When your name, when the decision was made and announced, a lot of us that sit on your IAC or, Institutional Advisory Council, we were happy to see all that experience that you just mentioned. And now that we're getting to know you, all of us are super excited about the work we're going to do together, which when you were there in Arizona, did students from Laughlin make it to that community college as well?
Yes.
Okay.
That's so in Laughlin. Mojave County has a lot of border communities, right? So up in, let's say, Colorado City also has Hilldale, right? And then you have Hurricane not too far away as well. Laughlin, of course, right across from Bullhead City. So we had a campus location there. In Needles, California, right there as well. So we would pull in students from Needles and Laughlin. Matter of fact, we pulled in students from Las Vegas at that time in some of our specific health programs. So I met students who were from Las Vegas coming down for our dental assistant or dental hygiene because maybe it was full here at CSN. Nursing program students from Las Vegas. Okay. So I actually got to know a lot of students who were actually from Las Vegas.
Wow.
We built our first residence hall ever down in Bullhead. Part of it was because we were pulling in these students coming from Las Vegas. Wow. We're trying to figure out where to stay short term because they didn't really have that opportunity, but they had to be down there for clinical purposes or whatever. And so that was one of the reasons we built the residence hall in Bullhead City was because of Las Vegas students. But part of it too was student athletes, which right now we started soccer when I was at Mojave. So we play against CSN. That's been fun to go to those matches and watch some good soccer on both sides and cheer on the Bighorns and the Coyotes at the same time. Yeah. But the deal with that is when we were bringing in soccer, we didn't have a lot of opportunity for housing for any student who was coming in from out of the area. And so when we built the residence hall, that was for our student athletes as well, which right now Mojave College has about 20 of their student athletes from both men and women's soccer from Las Vegas.
It's really cool to see the multiple sports now at CSN, because I remember when it was just baseball. I remember when there was nothing, and then baseball, and then, of course, the star player now plays, in the major leagues and, local kid. But now to see the multiple disciplines, to see both men and women, sports at CSN is awesome. And it's obvious by what you share with us how your experiences in Montana and Arizona shaped you for this role here with us. And we're really glad. So if you look ahead now with all that experience behind you, have you already set some top priorities perhaps for these few, months, years here as the president of CSN?
Well, the first priority for us is, at this given time, is we are about ready to begin our strategic planning process. So we have a 2-year bridge plan is what it's called. The Board of Regents have just approved that. But the strategic planning process is going to set the tone. It's going to set the direction. And that's going to be both made up from an internal audience, right? Your faculty, your staff, your students. But it's also going to be made up of the external voice. And that's where Workforce Connections comes into play. That's where our industry partners, our affiliation and partnership with CCSD and the work that Joan is doing, which has been fabulous. And but also our partnerships with UNLV and Nevada State and all the other institutions in the state as well. We need to take all that voice and bring it in. So one of my priorities beginning this year is to start that process. Our whole goal is to bring our final product to the board, which would be about January of 27. So that would give us all, starting this year, but all of next year, really kind of get after it. And so that's one of my main priorities because, again, that's going to set the tone. But I would say within that strategic plan frame or space, I would say that we got to concentrate better on our external connections, our partnership building, our connection with the CCSD and expanding dual enrollment, especially on the career and technical side, and assist in that area. We need to work with our industry partners who are coming in, which you know a little bit of the back end story with our work with Haas and work we're going to be doing there with the Marsh Center Training Center. The continuing, I should say, of our collaborative work with the City of Las Vegas, with the WETC that we just opened, the West Side Educational Training Center. Moving now into the East Side Educational Training Center, the ETC. We, just to announce it for everybody, we received our EDA grant for that. So we can begin to break ground and start moving that one forward. And then plus coming up, we're going to be talking about our medical educational, right? METC, the Medical Educational Training Center, which this Saturday I'm having a great opportunity to visit with Councilman Knutson and some other educational leaders to talk about that expansion in that medical district and how CSN, along with UNLV and NSU, can connect together in some way to be able to provide the education necessary. But it's those type of connections, and it's other outside industries. It's LVGEA and the new industries that might be coming in, that diversification. And they say the film bill does want to move forward. How do we fit within something with the new film industry if that was to move forward? We need to be at the table, ready to go and agile. So I think for me, priorities right now is to continue my connections externally as much as possible, but also then still listening internally. We still have things that we need to work on internally to better improve our success of students. We're a student-centered, student-first type institution, and we need to maintain that. And that means we need to constantly look at what we do and how we do it and close the loop where we have some gaps.
Yeah, and, I think as I hear you, Stacy, there are so many exciting things coming. You talked about WETC, ETC, METC, but one of the ways that we get to spend time together, you and I, is on the LVGA, the Las Vegas Global Economic Alliance, who also has a new leader in Danielle Casey, who also was just appointed to our board with you. And the reason why we all work together is because, as we said earlier, you can't have economic development in a region if these partners you described, the K through 12 system, the community college, the local workforce development board, the universities, aren't working together to make sure that the products that are being produced actually match the current and future needs of employers. So like you said, our industries. CSN has been pivotal, and again, we're excited of your contributions now, helping us stand up 7 industry sector partnerships, our 7 target growth industries that are set in the comprehensive economic development strategy that the LVGA sets for our region. That was something that's now has 300 plus employers robustly engaged. As you said, Haas is one of them. And so as we talk about the alignment of our mission of connecting employers to already workforce at Workforce Connections, and of course CSN's mission, we are aligned. Share with us why you think it's important that you sit on the LVGA, because that was another group that was excited to see you come and join. Why is it important for the community college, based on everything we've talked about, being on the regional economic development agency board?
It's a great question, and a couple things. One is when you look at a community college and its structure and its purpose, if we are not doing our job right, and what I mean by that is if we're not agile, we're not able to listen to the industry and move quickly on a training initiative to upskill incumbent workers, whatever else it is, then shame on us. And we need to be at the table and hear that and listen. For me, the best way to do it is to be on a workforce connections board, right? Any type of workforce board, whether it be a regional one, a state one, whatever that may be. But it's also got to connect in with your economic development officers, because that's where the connection truly does happen. But it also has to be involved with the government. I've always pictured this as a triangle of effect: education, government, and industry working together. Well, you represent, Workforce Connections represents a lot of that voice of the workforce need. Like you said, the 7 industry sectors. I had the great opportunity of being at Mojave, where I served on the Mojave County and La Paz County too, Workforce Development Board. Also served as a community college representative on the Arizona Commerce Authority. So all the work that the Arizona Commerce Authority has been doing to bring in major industry, to diversify the state, to be a community college representative. Across the way, there's Michael Crow from Arizona State, right? We're all at the same table talking about how higher education should come together and in order to support. Well, for me, a community college, again, should be an agile one. We should be listening and being able to offer. And it isn't about the 4-credit program. It's about that non-credit type training program, which our DWED, Stevan, that crew at the WETC that we're doing, that's so important. And we need to be the voice at the table with that space and to listen and provide that expertise, but at the same time, rely on the expertise of people like you and our industry partners, the sectors, the other government officials, to our economic development officers, to whatever. And if we're listening to them and then we're also to be able to bring our voice to the table, I think it only helps us. I got to do the shameless plug if you're ready for this.
Please.
Actually, Danielle from LVGA will be happy to see this pop on there wherever I can show it. But she shared this book with us for LVGA, and chapter 4 really gets into the development of a ready, a labor-ready workforce. And we need to be at that table because we can help produce that, along with the school district. Why aren't we connecting with the school district, like on that career and technical side? And the specific pathway that a junior and senior can take, when they graduate from high school, they already have those certifications. They can go right into the job. They got their associate's degree even before they graduated from high school. That makes it much easier for them to get that bachelor's degree, which is so necessary here as well. So we need to be doing that. So that's why I'm energized. When I got the invite to be on the board, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes. If you wouldn't have invited me, I probably would have crashed your party a few times and said, hey, we're here. But CSN is a major player. And I'll say this, that I think CSN, one, is a kind of a hidden gem. I know it's visible, but I think this is what we would say in Arizona, the community colleges were the secret sauce to making things happen. Yeah. And so I don't want to be a secret sauce. I want to be, the known sauce. And that means we have to be at the table. We have to be with you, and we have to hear what you're all saying.
Yeah, and we had been waiting for you. Your seat was, we were holding it, and again, excited, not just here, but at LVGA, I think, really excited about the contributions you're going to make based on this, again, experience that you have. You've already sat on a workforce development board, already sat on a state commerce agency, so really excited. Earlier, you mentioned serving rural areas. You talked about Mesquite and, Kingman and other small cities. How do you see CSL's role in helping the vitality of towns like that, Mesquite, Laughlin, because community colleges, as you said, really focus not just on urban areas, for rural as well. So share with us a little bit about your vision for CSN and helping economic development in those rural areas as well.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, you're pulling on my heartstring when it comes to the rural side. I love the urbanness and people I'm meeting. I mean, really, Las Vegas is a small town in a big city from the people I've met, and I've heard that that's been kind of known out there. I have witnessed it in my 100 days here. So it's true, people. It's true. But for me, the rural side is very necessary that we do concentrate on and or pay attention to. The reason being is when I was at Eastern Montana or at Miles Community College in Eastern Montana, it had its own economic need. It was in the middle of, at that time, it was kind of in a transportation hub or middle of. On the eastern side of the Bakken oil field. So if you remember how Bakken oil really kicked off in North Dakota, part of eastern Montana, you talk about major industry moving in and out of that area. And here's this little community college, really tiny, 500 students in the middle of a town of 10,000, in the middle of a county of 12,000. That's really, there's nothing else close by unless you go 140 miles west. And knowing, though, that major industry are starting to set up shop there. So therefore, are we doing CDL training? Are we doing heavy equipment operations? So we became the hub of that. We heard and we listened. Well, we were getting high school students who were going through our program, going out and signing for $100,000 a year job immediately. And it was filling a need that was close by. Same thing in agriculture. It was a major ag and cattle industry out of there. And we had great ag programs. So I recognized very early on that the community college, even in that small rural space, is so necessary. They were hungry for that education. They needed it, just like we are here at CSN and in the middle of Las Vegas. So early on, I realized that, and I needed to work with our industry partners. I needed to hear and listen. Government agencies, getting some external funds to build a workforce training center that was around heavy equipment operations and CDL training. Well, we took over an old armory. The army moved out into a new armory in town. We took over the old one and built a brand new workforce training space specifically around that industry need at the time. We also built an ag advancement center, which was all about our ag programs and our equine program. So I knew that I needed to partner with all of these folks to be able to build that infrastructure, but also have the great programs to support. That's when we started to dabble into the non-credit side as well. So when I got to Mojave, it was the same way, but with the Workforce Development Board and hearing the needs and the diversification that Kingman and Arizona itself was doing. Kingman has the third or second largest contiguous industrial park in Arizona. Not very many people know that.
Yeah.
And
wow.
for Las Vegas, and this is something I will share with Danielle, if we're looking at diversifying our economic here and trying to get new industry here, they're going to have to compete against Arizona and Kingman, because Kingman right there has the air, and the hub, as well as the rail hub, right in the middle of this industry park that has the infrastructure. Wow. And now Mojave College has an advanced manufacturing training center that we built just before I left.
For the chip industry, or?
Well, no, that was actually for multiple different industries that are in the park. They have about 40 different manufacturing companies in that industrial park.
Wow.
So, but it also was to support chip industry, because you have subsidiary type products that need to be developed.
Yeah. Their supply chain.
Yeah, they were looking exactly at Kingman as a new incoming place. So to be in the middle of that dialogue and support, both financially, human resources, effort, we needed to be in the middle of that. So for me, so that's Kingman, right? That's rural. And what I was able to do here in the last 2 months or 3 months is go to Mesquite now twice. I was just up in Mesquite again. I went up and did a tour. I did a listening session, went to their chamber lunch, had a bunch of people come into our center there, and also had a chance to see our fourth new program in Mesquite, which is our HVAC program. I just went up again to talk to some of the local leaders about what would be some other items that we need to do to support. I mean, they're one of the faster growing communities as well. And it's not just, the youth are staying in that area. They want to stay in that area. Well, what's the job market? What's the industry need? And so we're going to look at advancing new programs in that area where they're going to have a need. Same thing in Laughlin. I just went down to Laughlin a couple of weeks ago and visited with some leaders, and they really want us to be in there. Now, they also recognize that across the river, they have Mojave College they can go to for certain things like culinary. Why couldn't we do a hospitality style degree pathway down there in Laughlin, which is the third largest gambling community in Nevada?
Yeah.
Why couldn't we do something on our slot technician program, and maybe do a joint down there where Mojave does the culinary? We could be on the other side, but now we're all supporting the industry, right? Laughlin, the gaming industry there. So to me, I love that small space. I love hearing what the needs are and what we can do. And it's usually just one step, one program at a time. But again, it can be in that non-credit space. They're hungry for, I need 3-week training. I have 100 people that need to go through this. Can we do that? Yeah. Absolutely. Let's set it up. So we just have to be open to all that. But I am just as eager to work in the rural as I am with urban.
Yeah, it comes through. Your passion for it really comes through. And so I think that's a really win for us here in Southern Nevada, for those communities to have somebody who's already done it in other states. We want to get to also a little bit about your personal life, but one last question about business. When we've talked a lot about opportunities so far, which you just got opportunities for the rurals, for the urban, for multiple industries, which is really exciting. But I know there's also challenges. Today we live in times where they're unprecedented, I think, from everything from the federal government to all these other things. And so, what are some of the challenges maybe you see in front of you as well for community college or specifically CSN? Yeah,
it's a great question because it's one I wrestle with on a daily or nightly. I wake up at 2 a.m. going, okay, what's the new challenge? I better not read the paper today, right? The federal news. I will say that's probably the federal government and the transition that's happened with the new administration and its view of, or even just probably in a way, society's view of higher education, especially public education. And how they might corner community colleges in the middle of this larger narrative of it's unaffordable, it's inaccessible, it's liberal in its education, it's whatever. I think they need to actually sit down and really take a look at the community colleges and what it is. It's affordable, it's accessible, right? It's teaching workforce development training. And so for me, I wake up every morning going, okay, how does CSN still remain relevant in that space? And also adhering to whatever comes down from the federal government, For understanding CSN, though, is a minority serving institution and a Hispanic serving institution. One of the only ones in the state that kind of have both designations. And when you look at our student body, we're running roughly right around 60%, 55% are actually of minority. And so we need to pay attention to that because there's particularly potential special needs, right? So if certain groups are not achieving at a certain rate, we need to pay attention to that. Well, we've had a long-standing tradition of having federal grants that have supported specific needs, internal special programs to help support student needs. But they're usually geared for all students, but some people don't understand that. And so losing some federal dollars has been a challenge, I will say. And therefore, it's losing the potential to continue on our TRIO grant, which is our Student Support Services grant, which served over 200 students a year. Disadvantaged students, low-income students. Didn't matter, right? Those are the students. When you lose that potential funding, we have to figure out, okay, how do we pick that up because it's still important to us? Losing the potential funding of Title V funds because of Hispanic serving institution and that kind of going away from the current administration. Always difficult, right? Now, I'm willing to work within it. We have to do what we need to do, but those are challenges. And higher education professionals, presidents need to address that and deal with that on a daily basis. So I'm not going to shy away from it. I would say other challenges would be for me is our current budget situation. We've kind of been working through 4 years of, because of the pandemic, ebb and flow of financial, support from the state. The potential of a new funding formula that we thought was going to come through at the last legislative session that did not, which would have had a great impact, a positive impact on the community colleges in the state as well as really CSN. That didn't come through. The pandemic hurt our enrollment, so we had a drop in what we call caseload because of enrollment, so we lost a lot of money. Now, luckily, the state did provide some one-time gap money, but we're still at this point now where that's not there anymore. We don't have a funding formula that works for our type of student base and our enrollments. We don't have some of these that had one-time monies coming in to help support this decline in enrollment from the pandemic. So those are challenges, right? We have to work through there. We have to make some positive changes in that area. And so those are two main ones that I do worry about. Always worrying about what's the next big thing that we need to do to help support, such as the Northwest Campus. That is a big one that's out there for us. Why? Because it's the fastest growing area in Las Vegas. We have zero higher education in that area. We have land. We have some good news from the BLM. We're ready to rock and roll and with the city of Las Vegas, but we're going to need the money. Just like 30 years ago when Henderson was the exact same thing. Hey, let's get CSN there. We're at the same exact thing 30 years later with the Northwest side. And so we have a lot of work to do. It's a challenge, but a fun one at the same time because we have so many people that support that initiative. So those are those challenges. I will say, though, that's helping with those challenges. One is I have really good colleagues. We have great representatives at the national level. When I can go visit with Cortez Masto and also with Rosen and even our representatives, I tell you what, they listen and they are there to fight our battles. So I have to say thank you to them. And also at the legislative level in the state, I've met some really, really neat people and from the city government. The other thing, too, that's helped with the challenges is we're up in enrollment. We're actually now ahead of pre-pandemic or post-pandemic numbers. We're over, we just had almost an 8% increase this year than last year.
Fantastic.
So that helps us in a lot of ways because we're getting more students in and our goal is to get more out into the workforce. But that helps us out on the bottom line a little bit as well. So even though there's challenges, we're going to work through them. We're going to see them as positive opportunities. Let's go after it and we'll be okay.
Yeah, so obviously there's no shortage of challenges, hence the 2 a.m. in the morning waking up about them. But we don't want that. We want you getting rest so you can solve these problems. So what helps you recharge? How do you make sure you refresh? Because these are large challenges. It is a big job. But what do you enjoy, when you're not working? What hobbies, interests do you have that you enjoy pouring yourself into? Because again, they fill your cup, they recharge, with the energy you need to actually do the job well.
Well, my wife and I do enjoy to go on vacation and maybe travel a little bit. So if I get an opportunity to get away, we do enjoy that. My wife is a ceramicist or a potter. Wow. And so we have a little studio now in our house that we bought here. And that's keeping her a little bit busy because she's actually has some product but she also makes things for a lot of friends and family and whatever else. So she keeps busy with that. So when she has the free time and I have the free time, can we get away and do something? We have two boys, one 33 and one 30. Stephen is in Billings, Montana, working for a banking system in the IT world and loves it. And then my youngest works in Houston and manages a golf tech shop where he's been in a PGA teaching pro for a while.
Very cool.
And so both of those kids are great. If we can go see them and enjoy that time, we love that. I do have to say this, and I don't want Raider fans to be mad at me, but I am a LA Ram fan, and we have season tickets too.
Nice.
So my wife and I like to go over and to an LA Rams game. That gets us away, right? Our mind gets away from work, and I get to enjoy football that way.
Is that Sophie Stadium?
Yeah.
Oh, it's a beautiful stadium.
It's so much fun to go there and just see the atmosphere and tailgate with people, crazy.
You can do shopping there and restaurants.
There's just so much to do out of that area. So we do enjoy that. If I can get out and swing a golf club, I'll try to do that. If I can hop on my mountain bike, I'll try to do that. If I can go for a hike, I'll try to do that.
Nice.
So those type of things get me away. Way back when it was coaching. If I can go coaching high school baseball, leaving at 3:30 and going to coach for 2 or 3 hours, I would never think about work. It was all purely about that moment with those kids. And when I would come home, I would feel refreshed, ready to go. And so it's those type of things, trying to find those things to make it much easier and better on my mental abilities, right? My mental health.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy those quite a bit. If I can read a good book, I'm a Star Trek fan. So if you know of any good Star Trek books that are recently out, live long and prosper. I do enjoy those type of sci-fi things. My wife and I like to go to movies. If we can go, again, that's 2 hours of really paying attention to something on the screen, right? And not on a computer screen of work. So, I enjoy those things.
Well, I'm really happy to see that there is a wide variety of things that interest you, that you enjoy, and that help you recharge. Of course, the challenge, like you said, is finding the time to do those things, which I encourage you to please do. Especially you have your boys still, which is great. I loved coaching my kids when they were little. I think I always think that if I retire, that would be something I'd love to do. I just don't think it pays very well, but maybe when I retire, I won't need that. But yeah, coaching is really fun, I think, because you feel like you're giving a little bit of yourself, the wisdom, the knowledge that you've gained, passing it on. Talking about wisdom, Stacy, I always wonder about my 18-year-old self version, and I think about how much I would have loved to, with the wisdom I have now, after, all these time on earth, to save that guy some problems, some issues. What would you, but then I think he wouldn't have listened anyway because, he's kind of a knucklehead. So, but what would you say to an 18-year-old that's listening and has maybe the same interest you do? It says, I also want to be a teacher, and maybe one day I could be the president of a community college. What advice would you give that person now that you're here in this stage of your life that they need to hear now?
Yeah, a little bit on the personal side, I would say to any 18-year-old out there is really pay attention to your family, pay attention to your mom and dad. Listen to the grandparents, listen to the aunts and uncles, right? Listen to the cousins. That family connection is very important. And sometimes an 18-year-old doesn't maybe realize that, right? Until later in life. Yeah. I wish I would have listened a lot more to my dad when I was 18 than I did. I didn't realize that until later. Yeah. And so those are always just that personal side of understanding. But also find those mentors. You're going to run across many, many wonderful people, and open up your eyes to that is very, very critical. And with that, what their advice is and what their wisdom is. And be willing to listen to that and be open to that moment. That's always critical. Now, there's also going to be those you're going to think through and go, as you advance in life, 21-year-old, and then all of a sudden you're 30, in that time period, you're going to learn what you like and don't like, from food to friendship to love to political scene, right? You're going to find those things and be open to that as well. Be open to a change in an attitude, a change in thinking. But most of all, for me, what I found early on was I just needed to be, I needed to have grit and perseverance. I needed to be resilient and keep after it. And I never thought when I was 18, I thought I was going to be a high school teacher, right? Just get a bachelor's degree, teach high school and coach. I never once thought I had the ability, smarts, so to speak, the intelligence to get a doctorate degree. Never once. Never once thought I would actually be a president of a community college. And but it was that perseverance, resiliency, those mentors, listening to them, getting that self-confidence, self-efficacy, that self-confidence in myself that I could do this. And then also during that time, I started to expand my horizon and learning more about the world, learning more about others, different cultures, different understanding, different ways of thinking. And if you can do that and mesh that all into who you are and that you'll become, I can guarantee you things will go well. You'll have bumps and bruises, but things will go well. But again, just resilience, knowing your mentors, listening, open up the ears, right? Sometimes closing the mouth, opening the ears, finding those people who are full of wisdom and soaking that all in, and just have good grit. Keep after it.
That's great advice, Stacy. Thank you for sharing that. I can't believe we've gotten to the end of the podcast already. It seems like, it just started. Obviously,
That's 2 hours.
I know.
That's amazing. Way to go, Jaime.
I think we're going to have to, as you know, we're moving to a new location. You're coming to our ribbon cutting. When we set up our new podcast studio there, we want to have you back so we can hear an update on WETC, ETC, METC, and other of these great initiatives that are happening at CSN. So my final question would be, are there any initiatives, grand openings, programs that you want to share with our listeners, with our viewers that are happening at CSN? And maybe where can they go find out more about CSN? Yeah,
well, if you can go to csn.edu, and that's a good way to go through all the web pages and check out all our different academic programs that we have to offer. Getting to look at even our non-credit type side, things that we're doing out of the WETC, the Westside Educational Training Center, or just other programs, how we can customize. If I'm a new industry coming in and saying, wait a minute, I need certain customized training, you can go on and take a look at, I got to get a hold of Stevan, right? Stevan Corbett would take care of me, all those things. So there's all of that I think would be key for people to look at. Big ceremonies coming up. We just had the WETC grand opening, which is really kind of cool. I wish I could say, hey, we're going to do a groundbreaking on the Northwest campus.
That would be cool, too.
That would be great. But I would imagine coming up, we'll get something going on the ETC now that we have some of the funding models or funding brought forth. I would always say, too, come out and support our student athletic programs, take a look at the Coyotes. Everybody can do a Coyote. And I think that would be important because 90% of our student athletes, we have 160 student athletes who play NJCAA. I mean, this is good competitive sports. They're from Las Vegas. These are your local talent that are continuing to play something they love. And many of them go on to work or to play at a 4-year level, or they get their degree and they stay here and they work here. But to go out and see that talent on the court or on the field, it's pretty neat to watch. And so I would encourage that as well.
Very cool. Stevan, you got 2 shout outs from Stacy, so he's doing a good job. Yeah, he must have. Now, teach me, I've noticed, you have to curl the ears on the Coyote?
No, we just kind of do this.
Okay,
this is what I know, right?
Oh,
the ears sticking up. Right, the nose.
That's the nose,
right?
And the ears. The ears can stick up. Okay,
there you go.
They don't have to curl it a little bit. They can stick up. Okay.
Or if you want, a sad coyote, the ears are down.
Awesome. Well, Stacy, I've enjoyed our time together. I always do. I'm looking forward to seeing you again in one of these events that we always run into each other. And I think we have, again, a commitment to get you back into the studio once we relocate. Is that fair?
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you very much, Jaime. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, that's it for another episode of the WC Podcast. We hope to see you at a future one. Until then, stay safe. Thank you for staying over to do our bonus segment called Against the Wall. Are you ready?
I am. My back is against the wall, literally. So.
It is. We have 3 sections. The first one is called Your Favorites. We'll start. I'm going to give you a category, and you're going to give me your favorite thing in that category. Let's start with an easy one. Your favorite food.
Ooh, my favorite food, I would have to say tacos.
Favorite beverage with dinner.
Diet Coke.
Favorite dessert after dinner.
Ooh, anything chocolate.
Favorite way to start your day.
Cup of coffee.
Favorite way to unwind after a long day.
Cup of coffee. No, maybe a nice drink or just watching a fun comedy TV show.
Favorite hobby or weekend activity.
Ooh, if I can golf, if I can swim, if I can get outside, something like that.
Favorite vacation spot.
Cancun. Yeah, I'll say Cancun.
Favorite holiday.
Well, Christmas.
Favorite car you've ever owned?
65 Mustang GT.
Awesome. Favorite college sports team?
Michigan.
Favorite professional sports team?
Dodgers.
Favorite Vegas sports team?
Man. I would have to say the Knights. I'll say the Knights.
Awesome. Well, you made it through the first segment. Your favorites. Good job. The second one is called Tough Choices. It gets a little harder. We're going to give you two choices, and hopefully you can pick one, but it's okay. You can say both if you want to. Vacation or staycation?
Vacation.
When you go there, would you rather stay in a hotel or an Airbnb?
Airbnb.
When you retire, will it be on a ranch or in the city?
Split.
If you have a date by yourself, would you spend it by the ocean or hiking in the mountains?
Both if I could.
Buzz the Yellow Jacket or Razor the Shark?
Oh, wow. Razor.
Larger enrollment at CSN or higher graduation rate?
I'd say both. But I would say larger enrollments because I think that would get us to larger graduation rates.
Now, for you, have more time or more money?
Time.
If you were a superhero, the ability to fly or breathe underwater?
Fly.
The ability to speak with animals or speak any foreign language?
Any foreign language.
This is where we crank up and get really tough. Truth or kindness?
Okay, truth. Okay.
Actions? I'm sorry, did you answer truth or kindness?
Truth or kindness? Pick either one?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were something with truth or kindness. Okay. Truth.
Actions or words?
Actions.
Justice or grace?
Grace.
Well, you made it through tough choices. Good job, Stacy. The last segment is called Finish the Sentence. I'm going to give you 90% of the sentence. You're going to finish it for me. If you could visit any place in the world, it would be
Tokyo.
The best part about living here in Southern Nevada is
The people.
Your favorite part about your job as president at CSN is
The people.
And if you could travel back in time, you would travel to
1985.
3 words that describe you are
Fun, outgoing, and real.
I couldn't agree more. And doing the WC podcast here with us today was
Totally exciting and wonderful.